All right, this is John Cola with OKRod.com to have another exciting episode for you. On this episode today, we got my dad. Say hi, Dad.
Hi.
So why we're having this episode today is because I've been into raw foods for the last 19 years, and ever since I got into it, I've always tried to get my family into it because, you know, eating more fruits and vegetables is just a good thing for your health, and I want my parents, you know, to be as healthy as possible. And it's very important to me, but it's quite unfortunate that when I first got into it and told them about it and tried to share this message with them, they're very resistant because it was not what was normally done. People just don't eat 100% raw foods. My mom was a librarian, and she actually even gave me articles to say don't eat 100% raw food, it's not healthy, and that I should eat 50% raw. And I said, no, Mom, I'm eating 100% raw, I'm just doing it. And, you know, slowly over the years, even though I've been telling them, they haven't done, you know, made any major changes in their diets until, you know, more recently. And then my dad was the first one to kind of get on track with changing his diet. And the reason for this episode is to, you know, to have him share his experiences with you guys on, you know, eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, because that's truly to me what a raw foods diet is about. It's not just eating raw or not raw. It's about eating fruits and vegetables. And Dad, you want to share why you got started into eating more fruits and vegetables and why you're even interested in the first place?
I was born in 1938. I grew up during the early years, my early years during World War II. And in those days, food was scarce, and people actually had victory gardens. Once the war was over, natural food production got changed into the heavy-duty production that you see today. And basically, I was raised with the idea that spinach comes in a can and gets heated up on the stove by your mother, or comes in a green frozen brick, gets thawed and gets heated in the stove by your mother. Our basic Saturday night meal, which was really great for us, was hamburgers and beans. And we had hamburgers and beans and French fried potatoes every Saturday night. And it was a big treat to go out to a restaurant and get prepared food that was cooked. Was a real treat. And my brother and I had to stay on our best behavior, fold our hands before we sat down to a meal, and enjoy the roast beef, the mashed potatoes, and the the boiled string beans. But as I grew up and I left home and I got on my own, went to restaurants, and my favorite meal was a French burger, pie, and coffee. And I enjoyed that too. After we got married and started raising the kids, I figured the best thing to do was go out to a restaurant, have hamburgers, French fries, and a milkshake, and maybe a pizza on Saturday night. So I was a child of my culture. And I still am, sort of. However, I grew up to be 160 pounds, 170 pounds, 180, 190. And at one point, I was 220 pounds. I was diagnosed with a parathyroid hormone that was much higher than normal. There are 4 parathyroid hormone glands. And for me, one of them was producing way more than is required. Now, this is not the hormone. These are small glands behind the thyroid glands, and they regulate the amount of calcium that's in the blood. When the calcium gets up to a certain level, this hormone decreases, or should, and the calcium in the blood should stay pretty stable. And the amount of this hormone should stay pretty stable through a feedback system. That wasn't happening with me. I was producing high amounts of this hormone. My system was thinking that there wasn't enough calcium in my blood, and so my bones were being leached slowly but surely of calcium, so that this false level of calcium came into my blood. That was wrong. I was suggested that I go in for an operation and take the one out of the 4 glands that was overproducing out so they would go back to normal. I wanted to avoid surgery. I wanted to remove toxins from my body. I took note of holistic dentists who were at the time and still are not in favor of amalgam fillings, which contain mercury. Mercury is a poison. The website IAOMT, Mercury Toxicology, will show you a tooth lying out on a counter with mercury vapor rolling out across it in a shadowgram. I thought that the reducing the mercury in my head. Went to a dentist, removed all the metal fillings, replaced them all with composite. The hormone level was still up and the calcium was still being robbed from the bones. I took other precautions that I thought could help me, and it didn't help. So I became ready for this, what I thought was a really radical thing. Not eating food and only drinking water for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It turned out I actually went to 4 weeks, and the benefit of that was going from 220 pounds down to 170 pounds. And during the fast, that particular hormone level, the parathyroid hormone, went down. However, the program I was going through, which was called Center for Conservative Therapy at the time, is now called True North Health, saw that after I was being refed, and this was with raw organic foods, this is what you will experience if you go to a place like that to become detoxified. I found that parathyroid hormone level came back up, and the calcium level came back up as well. However, I totally had lost my taste for hamburgers, hot dogs, steaks, spare ribs, and all the rest of it. So I was able to maintain 190 pounds, but I still had the parathyroid problem, which ultimately I did get solved by having it removed 2 years ago now. In the meantime, I learned during the 30 days of fasting that you just don't stay there and drink distilled water and eliminate the toxins from your body, which they inform you there are different ways of seeking nutrition than fast food. One of the lectures was from the son of the heir of Baskin Robbins, who himself was sickly as a child and grew up with ice cream and dairy products all of his life until he moved out and started living his own life on natural food that he produced. Other lectures and other information from other nutritional sources other than the mainstream led me to believe that this is basically the way to go, and turns out John, who lived that way for several years, was right. So since that time, I've been on raw and organic and some cooked foods, steamed vegetables at some times, and I'll occasionally fall off the wagon and have some processed food like a oatmeal cookie or a scone or something like that. But I've been able to live on increased raw and organic food for most of my life since the year of 2001. Last week I went to a personal care physician, my PCP, my doctor, for an annual physical. She looked at the numbers on a blood test that I'd done some weeks earlier and said, "You have the lowest total cholesterol of any of my patients." And she said, "I really don't understand that." Well, I said, it's because I've been doing raw and organic vegetables since the year 2001.
So as you guys heard, my dad got into, a plant-based, mostly raw diet because he had an illness that he wanted to overcome without going under surgery. And would personally do that also. I mean, I don't think surgery is necessarily a good thing, especially elective surgeries. If of course you're in a car accident and you need surgery, different story. But I had a friend who actually was going in actually for some problem with his back, some minor problem. They were just going to do surgery and he was going to be better when he got out. And unfortunately, after he came out, he was paralyzed, from the waist down, and was then ridden in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Like my dad, I'm not a big fan of surgery, so yeah, that's why he got into it, because of a health challenge he had after years of maybe not eating the proper diet. And that's why I got into a raw foods diet and eating fruits and vegetables as well, because of a health challenge. It's quite unfortunate that many of you guys watching may not have had a health challenge yet, but as a proactive measure, I would encourage you guys to eat more fruits and vegetables, because to me that's what a raw food diet's about. So Dad, why don't you tell me about some of the benefits that you've gotten from going since 2001 on a plant-based, mostly raw diet?
I've been able to maintain my weight within 1 or 2 pounds of 190, 191, 189, something like that for the entire time. I've got enough energy to ride my bicycle every day of the week, from our house to the local shopping center, and still come back. I'm taking part in University of California, San Francisco studies that hope to show that kyphosis, which is that curvature of the spine that happens among older people, and I'm 76, can be prevented by certain kinds of exercises, certain kind of preventive programs for 6 months. I can do that 3 days a week, and unlike a number of people who are my age, who have cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, I have none of those.
Wow. So Dad, tell me about, you're in a Royal Order of Water Buffaloes, the Freemasons, and tell me about some of the people that are around your age there, and your experiences with going to lodge, and what's happening to them.
Some of my lodge brothers have died. They have lived their whole life in the way I was living prior to the time I went through the raw food program at True North Health. Since I've gone through that program, the dinners that they serve at the lodge meetings, meat, potatoes, overcooked vegetables, and then a very rich dessert, has been for everybody, all of the other brethren in the lodge except me. I bring raw carrots, raw bok choy, raw celery, raw vegetables of one and other types, and I'm healthier than most of my lodge brothers.
And Dad, did the guys make fun of you for eating rabbit food?
I got a lot of good-natured joking, but since then I've outlived probably a dozen of my Masonic brothers.
All right, Dad. So aside from having more energy and outliving your Masonic brothers and other people of your age, what about your high school reunions that you still go to now? I mean, tell me about some of the people that you see there and what's going on with them.
Once again, I graduated in high school in 1956, and each year there's a reunion, and typically the 10-year reunions in 1966, 76, 86, 96, and 2006 was the 50-year reunion. Fewer and fewer people are showing up every year.
Wow. I mean, it's quite sad that in America we're just not taught how to eat, in my opinion, properly, which is just having lots of fruits and vegetables. I don't care what you guys want to eat out there. You guys still want to enjoy a cheeseburger once a month. Eat mostly fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. I don't care if you use the term raw or not. For me, it's really about eating high quality fruits and vegetables, the highest you could get. So Dad, what are some of your favorite ways to include more of these fruits and vegetables in your diet?
I found that some of the retail grocery stores are moving rapidly toward raw and organic produce. One of the local chains, Trader Joe's, has been making a real effort to attract customers in their organic produce area. It looks like other stores like Safeway tend to be dragging their feet. They're not coming out with as many products or as reasonably priced. So I will routinely buy bagged salad, lettuce, spinach, arugula, and bring it home. Raw carrots, bring them home. cherry tomatoes. Bring them home and just make a salad every night for dinner. And I've done this nearly the entire time from 2001.
And what about like for breakfast, Dad? Like I know in the morning when I was a kid and I'd be sleeping in my bedroom, I'd smell two things which I really dislike to this day, maybe because I grew up with this, and I don't know if you know this, but the smell of burnt toast and coffee, like those smells get on my nerves because I used to smell it every single day. So I know you went from burnt toast and coffee, but now what do you eat for breakfast to let everybody know, you know?
Once again, the local stores are coming out with organic fruits, and I can always find in season organic blueberries, organic raspberries, organic apples, organic other kinds of berries, organic bananas. I always have a full serving of fruit, and usually I get an instant produced gluten-free oatmeal.
Great. Yeah, so I mean that's a wonderful breakfast compared to like eating burnt toast and coffee. And once again, you know, it's not about all or nothing. You have to go all raw or no raw, right? To me, it's about, you know, I want my parents to eat a plant-based diet centered around whole foods with a lot of raw foods. And I know Mom also makes, you know, the green smoothies. Do you have the green smoothies like for lunch every day, or what do you do?
The green smoothies in the morning.
Okay. And what about for lunch, Dad?
Usually have a salad for lunch. Sometimes an instant prepared soup from the vegetarian doctor who's here in the Sonoma County area in St. Helena. McDougal's vegetarian soups, instant soups with hot water and a salad.
Great, great. So yeah, I mean, it's really easy to incorporate more fresh fruits and fresh vegetables in your diet. I mean, the simplest ways, to me, what I like to do is I just like to eat fruits fresh and whole. You know, I'm going to eat some jackfruit for my next meal. It's a nice exotic tropical fruit. If you haven't seen it or know what it is, be sure to check my other videos. I have an episode on it, actually a few. It's one of my favorite fruits. Another way I like to include more fresh fruits and vegetables in my diet, and hopefully my dad will start doing this really soon because I've been on him, and my mom, to get into doing this because it will be so helpful, is juicing. Today I made them fresh pineapple yellow squash juice, which was amazing. How'd you like that juice, Dad?
Loved it.
Yeah, so I mean, juice is amazing because it literally just takes out all the water and all the nutrition without the fiber and puts it in the glass. And, you know, drinking a fresh juice is far better than drinking a coffee or a soda or most other things you could drink, in my opinion. And it's really concentrating the nutrition, you know, down for you guys. And more importantly, especially if you're getting older and up there in age, it makes it easier to digest. You know, many people have challenges with their digestive systems as they get older and are unable to, you know, number one, masticate the food into a mush, which is really important, but just digest the food. You know, only recently has my mom had some digestive challenges that then she's finally gotten more on track with the diet. And another way, of course, I like to include more fruits and vegetables in my diet is the smoothies and using the blender, whether it's a fruit smoothie or, I think more importantly, especially as you get older, the green smoothie. I think greens are one of the most important things you guys should be including in your diet. My goal is to get 2 pounds of greens a day. We're sitting here in my garden, actually right behind the camera. You guys might see the wind flapping around one of the leaves. But that's the ashataba. It's very powerful, you know, from the research I've seen, anti-cancerous and high antioxidant food that, you know, is unfortunate that you can't really buy it in the store. You got to be growing it, you know, if you want to be eating that stuff. So every time my parents come over, I try to get them to eat some of that stuff so they can be cancer-free. So, Dad, tell me more about, like, because you got in this program in 2001 and Mom was still kind of doing her own thing. How did that affect your relationship and affect everything? So, like, say somebody out there watching, you know, is going to start changing their diet. The other person just is not on board yet.
Well, one of the things I've learned since 2001 is I'm not going to be out like a recently converted religious person trying to convert everyone to the right way to go, because it occurs to me that if I'm healthy and I look healthy and I act healthy and somebody comes up and asks me what they'll do, then I'll share it with them. But your mother particularly has encouraged me not to try to convert anyone to the raw food lifestyle. But when the doctor says I've got the lowest cholesterol she's seen among all of her patients, I'll be ready for the next question and what she asks me why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's a lot healthier, and I'm sure, one of the reasons why he's alive today is because he's eating high nutrient density foods. Most Americans, his lodge brothers, probably his high school friends and people that were in his graduating class are eating the exact opposite of nutrient dense foods. They're eating nutrient poor foods that are high in calories. These are the foods that age you, much more quickly, and may cause disease and all this kind of stuff. Whereas the high nutrient density foods like the leafy green vegetables, even fruits and vegetables and beans and legumes are some of the most nutrient dense foods that are going to be the healthiest for you guys to eat. So Dad, back to the question about about mom and supporting you, since you got into it well before her. Was she supportive of your diet when you first started, or did she try to say, here, have some chicken, have this, have that? I mean, what happened?
Well, we basically have gone on our own path, and I basically have followed the routine that I've learned in the fasting center, and I think your mom has been more and more accepting of the raw and organic foods.
So I definitely agree. Don't try to convert anybody. Just do your own thing. I mean, that's what I do even to this day. I mean, when I got involved with raw foods, I was so excited about it. I wanted to share with everybody and get everybody on board. But, people are on their own journey in this experience of life. And, now all I do simply nowadays is just try to lead by example. I make these videos for people that are searching for information. I don't care if you don't change what you do. I'm not going to tell you what's right or wrong. I'm going to tell you what's worked for me, what's worked for my dad. And hopefully some of this, even a little bit, will wear off on you, and you'll start including more fresh fruits and fresh vegetables in your diet so that you guys could get healthier because of it. Dad, any last comments that you'd like to say to the listeners out there, maybe other men that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s? Is it too late for them to start eating healthy today, and do you think they'd feel and get benefits from it?
Yes. Spinach doesn't come only in a can and get heated up on the stove by your mother. It doesn't only come in a green brick to be defrosted and then heated up on the stove by your mother. Spinach is a leafy green vegetable that you can mix in with your lettuce and your arugula and your other leafy greens, and it's good for you.
All right, yeah, definitely well said. I also want to encourage you guys too, one of the things that I'm really big on nowadays after doing a plant-based raw foods diet for the last 19 years, I always try to better what I'm doing. And the way that I've found the best way to do it is to literally grow your own food. Standard conventional agriculture and even organic agriculture is not growing the high quality food that was around when my dad was growing up. I mean, in the 1950s, one apple then had more nutrition than apples of today, and it's quite unfortunate. People could say, oh, that's because the varieties that they're growing are different, they're all hybridized or whatever, and that may play a part, but I think a larger factor is the soil. And things are being pulled out of the soil, and farmers are not putting things back in the soil because it's all about dollars and cents.
Genetic modification.
Yeah, and of course there's genetic modification. The only way to completely control all the variables that you could get the highest quality food is grow your own. So if you're interested in growing your own, and you could start gardening at any age, and I have videos on this. I even helped a friend in a wheelchair get a garden growing at waist height so she can actually work her garden. You can check my other videos out at growingyourgreens.com. Hopefully one of these days my parents will allow me to go into their house and convert it all to a edible farm. So instead of having to go to the Trader Joe's or the Safeway and get produce, they could literally walk outside their front door, and my dad could do as a teenager growing up on a farm and pick the vegetables out of the yard. So hopefully after watching this episode, you've learned a few things. Number one, you've learned even if you're older, you can get into raw foods. You will have some benefits. You've learned that my dad has been doing it since 2001. And yeah, he's not 100% by any means. He does, a plant-based diet.
Still drink coffee.
He still drinks coffee. Thank God I'm not there to have to smell it in the morning. But, it's not all or nothing. Hopefully one day he'd get off the coffee and drink fresh juices, because I have given him one of the best juicers to use, the Omega NC 900, is the one I'd recommend for most people that want to juice leafy greens and want something easy to clean and that will make it a very high yielding juice. But hopefully he'll start using that one of these days so that even include and incorporate more fresh fruits and vegetables, especially the vegetables, into his diet in the most broken down form possible so that he can continue to live and continue to live healthy. And besides living healthy, of course, he has a lot more energy than his peers. And other thing that just you can't put a price on is he's outliving his peers, and he's here to see my brother's son, his grandson, grow up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, this is John Kohler and
John F. Kohler
with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.
I want to thank everybody, and I really mean every single person here has traveled a great distance and made a huge, huge effort to be here. We have people from every corner of the planet Earth that have come here.